He builds stuff, he wrecks stuff, he has some emotional problems. That's right, it's time for some Grapple. Hey everybody, this is Chris and welcome to another episode of my Transformers collection. And in front of you is 1985's Grapple, which you'll notice is a very similar vehicle to the one we just talked about, Inferno. In fact, this is a recolor, remold of Inferno, which originally was a Diaclone mold, and now we have a whole new version in orange with a little hook and a couple of other differences, which you'll see along the way. You know what's funny about Grapple is kind of like Inferno, he just showed up one day in the cartoon. He was just there. It's like, well, okay, cool. And he was the guy that built stuff. He was a character who, he was really good with his hands. Let's just put it that way. If he was a Decepticon, he would have been probably a Constructicon. You know what I mean? In fact, in the episode The Master Builders, he actually built a solar power tower, even though Optimus Prime said no. And that episode actually has always stuck with me because, you know, Grapple's not the brightest guy. He's a little bit gullible because he trusted the Constructicons, speaking of the Constructicons, to help him build this solar power tower, and he believed that they were friends. And I guess when they sort of backstabbed him and everything, you just kind of feel bad for the guy. He's just kind of gullible, I guess. And I think a lot of people hate Grapple for that reason. I always kind of liked him. Anytime a character could stand out in Generation 1, when you had a cartoon where they introduced 25 characters an episode sometimes, to me that's a good thing. And I liked Grapple because of that reason. His tech spec says beauty is in everything except war. His function is architect. Now obviously the Grapple you see in front of you is not an original Generation 1 release. This is the commemorative series edition that came out from Toys R Us in 2003, and it's much like a lot of them. It's very, very close to the original with a couple of minor differences. I used to own a sealed piece of Grapple, and I do have a scan that I took a long time ago for my old Transformers website. It's not the best quality, but here you can get an idea of what Grapple looked like in an original G1 packaging. Now this is the part that I like to call the accessory rundown in case you're trying to complete your own Grapple for yourself. Obviously a Generation 1 Grapple would come with an instructions sheet and a label sheet. And he comes with a bunch of other goodies including 2 black fists, an arc welder rifle, and 3 silver rockets. And here is Grapple up close and personal, and he looks pretty nice, you know. I'm obviously partial to the red fire engine colors, but this orange is pretty nice. I mean, it looks good overall. It's essentially the same mold. It's got some nice chrome here sticking down and a couple of etches into the plastic to give it some character. This particular piece actually folds down and sits up like that. And see, that kind of allows the crane to sort of rest on it. And it's nice, you know. If you back it up a little bit here, you see that you actually have a crane hook. On the actual crane itself, the original G1 version had silver for these bits. This particular one has gray. Just like with Inferno, this front piece comes down and reveals a little seat as well as the rub symbol. And if we take a quick look at the front of the cab, you'll see the really cool clear lights that are at the top. Those are neat. And the Autobot symbol, which on this version is stamped. The original Grapple actually had a sticker for an Autobot symbol. Really cool. And here is Grapple in robot mode, and you can tell he looks very, very similar to Inferno. I mean, there's not really that much difference aside from his color and his color. Of course, his crane is in the back. It sits back there, you know, pretty nicely. He's missing a couple of ornaments like the wrapped up hose and the little chrome piece by his head. But you can see, I mean, he's essentially the same. He looks good. If you like the Inferno mold, you'll like the Grapple mold. One of the main differences is that he doesn't have the little hose nozzles coming out the side. He still has the holes there in case you want to put Inferno's nozzles in there. If we zoom in here on the head, you notice that his face sculpt and head and everything is pretty much the same as Inferno's. There really isn't much different. If you know the cartoon, you know that his head was not black, it was actually orange. It almost blended in a weird way with the color of his entire body. Except for one episode, which was actually Auto Berserk, where his head was black. So I guess it's show accurate, kind of, depending on what day he decided to spray paint his head. G1 animation errors. I love them. But yeah, it's a really nice head sculpt. This commemorative series has blue eyes. They recolored them. They were yellow in the original. Much like Inferno, you can actually put interchangeable pieces in his hands. For this particular one, I like to do fist in this hand and missile rocket in that hand. And the reason is because, again, in the show, oftentimes his left hand actually had like sort of a torch welding thing, so the missile kind of simulates it, although a lot of times Grapple did have both hands. Just like Inferno, the commemorative series has the firing mechanism actually removed, so these don't shoot out. They're supposed to in the original G1. They actually shot out, but that doesn't really bother me. Again, for the same reason, whenever a fist goes into a firing mechanism, I kind of like it to be more solid, because you're just going to bump this and pew, shoot a fist out, and it sits in there really solid. Inferno had Red Alert, and Grapple had his good old buddy, Hoist. And there was a look at Grapple from 1985. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Chris, rolling out.